The dust on Talus 7 never settled. It hung in the thin atmosphere like a dirty curtain, turning the sky a rust-colored brown. Captain Doyen stepped off the cargo ramp of the Dawn's Promise and looked across the battlefield. Broken machines and collapsed buildings stretched as far as he could see. 3 weeks ago, this moon had been a war zone. Now it was just a graveyard. Scan shows metal signatures everywhere, Hana said through the radio. She was still in the pilot seat running the ship's sensors. We'll make good money here. Doyen nodded even though she couldn't see him. Behind him, Jiwon and Minho walked down the ramp carrying equipment. Jiwon was the engineer, a thin woman with quick hands and sharp eyes. Minho was their medic, broader and quieter, always watching. Stay close, Doyen said. The Vryn left fast, but they might have left surprises. The Vryn Empire had fought humans and their allies for 2 years over these frontier moons. Nobody really won. The Vryn just pulled back one day, taking their ships and soldiers. They left everything else behind. That's where salvage crews like Doyen's came in. One person's war trash was another person's treasure. They walked toward a collapsed bunker. The building had been half buried by an explosion. Its metal walls twisted like paper. Jiwon knelt and pulled out her scanner, waving it over the rubble. Good stuff in there, she said. Power cells, weapons, maybe even intact computers. Can we get in? Doyen asked. Jiwon studied the collapsed entrance. We'll need to cut through. Give me an hour. While Jiwon worked, Minho set up a medical station near the ship. It was standard procedure. Battlefields were dangerous even after the fighting stopped. Doyen helped Jiwon cut through the metal, their plasma torches hissing and sparking. The bunker opened like a mouth. Cool air rushed out, carrying a smell that made Doyen's nose wrinkle. Not decay, but something sharp and chemical. They stepped inside with lights attached to their helmets. The bunker was bigger than it looked from outside. Rooms branched off a main corridor. Most were empty or destroyed. Jiwon marked the good salvage with spray paint, while Doyen took pictures for their report. They were in the third room when Jiwon's scanner made a different sound. She stopped walking and looked at the device, then at the wall. That's weird, she said. What? I'm getting a heat signature. Something alive. Doyen felt his stomach tighten. Survivors? Maybe. It's big, whatever it is. Jiwon moved her scanner slowly. Behind this wall, I think. Or under it. They called Minho on the radio. He arrived 5 minutes later with a medical kit and a rifle. The three of them stood in front of a pile of concrete and metal that had fallen from the ceiling. Could be a Vryn soldier, Doyen said. Trapped when the ceiling came down. For 3 weeks? Minho shook his head. They'd be dead. Only one way to know. Doyen grabbed a metal beam. Help me move this. It took 30 minutes of hard work. They lifted beams, pushed aside concrete chunks, and cut through twisted metal. The heat signature got stronger. Whatever was under there was definitely alive and definitely big. When they finally cleared enough rubble, Doyen shined his light into the hole they'd made. Then he stepped back fast. What is that? Hana asked through the radio. She was watching through their helmet cameras. The creature was huge. 3 meters long, maybe more. It looked like someone had taken a wolf and made it into a weapon. Its body was covered in armor plates that seemed to grow from its skin. Metal and flesh fused together. 4 legs, each as thick as Doyen's waist, ended in claws that could tear through steel. The rear legs were crushed and bent at wrong angles. But it was the face that made Doyen's hands shake. The head was massive, with a jaw that could bite a person in half. But the eyes were open and watching them. They glowed faintly blue in the darkness, intelligent and aware. That's a Krell, Jiwon whispered. A Vryn warhound. Doyen had seen videos of Krells in battle. They were monsters that charged into enemy lines, tearing through soldiers and vehicles. Nothing stopped them. Nothing scared them. The Vryn used them as living tanks, and they were very, very good at killing. This Krell wasn't moving. Its chest plates were cracked, showing the strange organs underneath that pulsed with dim light. Dark blood pooled beneath it. One of its front legs was pinned under a concrete slab. It's dying, Minho said quietly. Good, Doyen answered. Those things killed hundreds of our people. It's suffering. Doyen looked at his medic. Minho was staring at the Krell with an expression Doyen knew too well. It was the look Minho got when he saw someone in pain, any someone. Human, alien, it didn't matter to him. We should go, Doyen said. Mark this location and report it. Let the military deal with it. It'll be dead before they get here, Minho said. We could help it. Help it? Doyen couldn't believe what he was hearing. That thing is a weapon. It's probably killed people we know. It's hurt and alone. Its own people left it here to die. Because it's too damaged to be useful anymore. They stared at each other. Jiwon cleared her throat. Actually, she said, a live Krell would be worth a lot of money. Research facilities, xenobiologists, they'd pay a fortune to study one. Doyen frowned. He hadn't thought of that. Their salvage company was always looking for the big score, something that would let them pay off the ship and retire. A living Krell would definitely qualify. It might die anyway, he said. Might not, Jiwon replied. With Minho's skills and my knowledge of alien tech, we could at least stabilize it. Minho was already moving closer to the Krell. Doyen wanted to stop him, but didn't. The medic knelt just outside the creatures, reached and opened his kit. The Krell watched him. It made a sound, low and rumbling, that vibrated in Doyen's chest. A warning growl. Minho didn't move back. He just sat there holding up his empty hands. Easy, Minho said softly. I'm going to help you. Just stay calm. The Krell's glowing eyes moved from Minho to Doyen to Jiwon and back to Minho. Its breathing was labored, each breath a visible effort. Then slowly it laid its massive head on the ground, still watching but not threatening. It understands, Jiwon said with wonder in her voice. It knows we're talking about it. Minho pulled out a scanner and moved it over the Krell's body. The device beeped and showed data that made him frown. Bad, really bad. Crushed spine, internal bleeding, infections. Some of the metal parts are damaged and poisoning the organic parts. Can you save it? Doyen asked. Here? No, on the ship? Maybe we'd need to move it carefully. Doyen looked at the Krell again. It was still watching them with those intelligent, pain-filled eyes. He thought about what Jiwon said. Money. They needed money. But he also thought about the risk. Krells were dangerous. Even wounded, it could kill them all. But there was something else in those eyes. Something that made him uncomfortable. The Krell looked defeated. Lost. Like it knew it had been abandoned and was just waiting for the end. If we do this, Doyen said slowly, we do it carefully. Full quarantine, reinforced cargo bay, medical monitoring at all times. And if it shows any sign of aggression, we put it down immediately. Minho smiled. Deal. I'll prep the cargo bay, Jiwon said, already heading back to the ship. Doyen stayed with Minho while the medic worked to stabilize the Krell. He injected pain medication and antibiotics, doses he could only guess at based on the creature's size. The Krell flinched but didn't fight. When they finally rigged a sling to lift it, Doyen half expected the creature to thrash and attack. Instead, it just watched them work with those glowing blue eyes. Trusting them, maybe. Or maybe just too weak to resist. As they loaded the Krell into their ship, Doyen wondered if he'd just made the best decision of his career or the worst mistake of his life. The creature lay in the cargo bay, restrained but treated as gently as possible. Minho was already setting up medical equipment around it. Does it have a name? Hana asked, looking at the Krell through the cargo bay window. Doubt it, Doyen said. The Vryn probably just number them. But Minho, kneeling beside the massive creature and checking its vital signs, said quietly, Barum, we'll call it Barum. The Krell's eyes turned toward Minho at the sound. Maybe it understood. Maybe it was just coincidence. Either way, Doyen thought the name fit. Barum meant wind, and like the wind, this creature had been used as a force of nature by those who controlled it. Now it was in their hands. And Doyen had no idea what would come next. 5 days into their journey, and Minho hadn't slept more than 2 hours at a time. He sat beside Barum in the cargo bay, watching monitors that showed the Krell's vital signs. The numbers kept dropping. Heart rate too slow. Blood pressure falling. Internal temperature unstable. You need rest, Hana said from the doorway. She brought him food, which he barely touched. It's getting worse, Minho said. The body is rejecting the metal parts, like an immune system attacking foreign objects, but the metal is built into its organs. If I remove the metal, it dies. If I leave it, it dies. So we're just watching it die slowly. Minho shook his head. There has to be a way. The Vryn kept these creatures alive. There must be some treatment, some medicine. But they didn't have Vryn medicine. They barely understood Krell biology. Minho was working with guesswork and hope, and both were running out. Barum lay on its side, breathing shallow. The blue glow in its eyes had dimmed. Sometimes it looked at Minho, and he swore he saw something in that gaze. Not just pain, but understanding. Like it knew it was dying and was grateful not to die alone. Don't give up, Minho whispered to it. We didn't save you just to lose you now. Up in the cockpit, Doyen was having his own problems. A message had come through from their company and from human military command. It was marked urgent. Read it, Jiwan said. She was working on a damaged circuit board but listening. Doyen read the message twice to make sure he understood. Then he read it out loud. The Dawn's promise is to proceed immediately to Kepler Junction Military Station. Upon arrival, cargo containing alien biological asset will be transferred to Military Research Division. Crew will be debriefed and compensated for salvage according to standard rates. Compensated, Jiwan repeated. Not the fortune we thought. Standard rates means barely enough to cover fuel. Doyen leaned back in his chair. They're taking Baram and giving us nothing. Can they do that? They're the military. They do what they want. Doyen stared at the screen. But there's more. Read between the words. Research Division. Alien biological asset. They're not planning to study Baram peacefully. Jiwan put down her tools. You think they'll use it as a weapon? Make their own Krells? I think they'll try. And that means keeping Baram under control. Pain conditioning, neural programming, whatever the Vryn did. Doyen felt sick. We'd be giving it to people who'll turn it back into a slave. The ship was quiet except for the hum of engines. Hana's voice came through the intercom. Doyen, you should come to the cargo bay. Minho found something. They gathered around Minho's workstation. He had a monitor showing scans of Baram's head, specifically the metal plates on its skull. These aren't just armor, Minho explained. They're connected directly to the brain. Look here and here. Neural interfaces. Dozens of them. What does that mean? Doyen asked. It means someone can control what Baram thinks, what it feels, what it does. Minho's face was hard with anger. The Vryn didn't train these creatures. They programmed them. Direct brain control. Jiwan leaned closer to the screen. That's torture. Constant, every moment torture. Imagine not being able to control your own body. Explains why Krells fight so viciously, Hana said quietly. They're not naturally violent. They're being forced. Minho pulled up another file. I had the ship's computer translate some Vryn military transmissions we intercepted during the war. Look at this one. The translation was rough but clear enough. It was a report about Krell units. The words made Doyen's stomach turn. Subjects captured from homeworld. Resistance broken through pain compliance training. Neural implants successful in 87% of subjects. Failures terminated. Units ready for combat deployment. Subjects, Jiwan said. Not animals. Subjects means people. Baram's people had a world, Minho said. The Vryn invaded it, took them, turned them into weapons. He looked at the Krell lying in the cargo bay. Every Krell we saw in battle, every one that killed our soldiers, they were prisoners. Slaves. The crew stood in silence. Doyen thought about all the times he'd seen Krells during the war. On videos, in reports. He'd thought they were monsters. Now he knew they were victims. The Vryn left Baram because the control implants are damaged, Minho continued. Without the implants, they couldn't force it to fight. So it was worthless to them. Which means Baram might be... Hana didn't finish. Free, Minho said. For the first time since it was captured, Baram's mind is its own. That's why it didn't attack us. That's why it let me help it, because it chose to. Doyen walked to the cargo bay window. Baram was watching him again with those dim blue eyes. He'd seen those eyes as a monster's eyes. Now he saw them as a prisoner's eyes, someone who'd had their whole life stolen. The military message, Jiwan said. If we take Baram to Kepler Junction, they'll put new implants in, Minho finished. Better ones, probably. And they'll use Baram to learn how to make human versions. More slaves. More weapons, Doyen closed his eyes. He'd spent his whole life following rules. Join the merchant fleet, work hard, don't make trouble. His whole career was built on doing what he was told and getting paid for it. But some orders were wrong. Hana, he said. How far to Kepler Junction? 3 days at current speed. And how far to Sanctuary Station? Hana was quiet for a moment. 5 days. But Captain, Sanctuary is independent territory. If we go there instead of Kepler Junction, we'll be violating direct orders. Military orders, I know. We could lose our licenses. Go to prison. The company will sue us for the ship. I know that too. Jiwan crossed her arms. Sanctuary Station has a reputation for taking in refugees. All species. No questions asked. Dr. Yunji runs a clinic there. She treats anyone who needs help. She'd help Baram? Doyen asked. If anyone can remove those implants safely, it's her. Jiwon smiled slightly. Of course, helping us would make her an accomplice. She might say no, but she might say yes, Minho added. Doyun looked at his crew. Hana, who could fly anything but hated authority. Jiwon, who was too smart for simple salvage work. Mino, who saw patience instead of profits. They'd all joined his crew because they didn't quite fit anywhere else. Show of hands, Doyun said. Who wants to follow orders, take Baram to the military, and keep our careers? Nobody raised their hand. Who wants to go to Sanctuary Station, help Baram, and become criminals? 3 hands went up immediately. Minho, Jiwon, Hana. They all watched Doyun. He thought about his career, his clean record, his plans for retirement. Then he thought about Baram, lying in the cargo bay, dying slowly. Baram, who'd been turned into a weapon against its will. Baram, who'd finally gotten free only to face becoming a slave again. Some things were more important than careers. Doyun raised his hand. Sanctuary Station. It is, Hana said, and he heard relief in her voice. I'll set the new course. I'll fake a system malfunction, Jiwon added. Make it look like we had navigation problems. Buy us some time before they realize we went the wrong way. I'll keep Baram alive, Minho said firmly. 5 days. We can do it. Doyun sent a message to Sanctuary Station, carefully worded. He asked if Dr. Yoonji might be interested in a unique medical case. Explained the basics. Asked for help. The answer came back 6 hours later. Just 3 words. Come immediately, Yoonji. They were committed now. Doyun deleted the military orders from their system and prepared a story about navigational errors. It wouldn't hold up under investigation, but it might buy them time. In the cargo bay, Minho was talking quietly to Baram. The Krell couldn't respond, but it watched him with those fading eyes. We're taking you somewhere safe, Minho said. A doctor who can really help you. Just hold on a little longer. You've survived this long. You can make it. Baram made a sound, low and soft. Not a growl. Something else. Minho reached out slowly, carefully, and touched the Krell's head. The creature didn't pull away. It just kept watching him. You're not a weapon, Minho whispered. You never were. You're just someone who was hurt and used. But that's over now. We're going to set you free. If Baram understood, it gave no sign. But its eyes stayed on Minho's face, and in them was something that might have been hope. The Dawn's promise changed course, turning away from military space and toward the independent territories. Behind them, messages piled up demanding their status and position. Doyun ignored them all. They'd made their choice. For better or worse, they were going rogue. And somewhere in the depths of space, military computers flagged a salvage ship as overdue and possibly stolen. The hunt would begin soon, but for now, in the quiet of their ship, the crew of the Dawn's Promise had a clear conscience and a patient to save. Doyun stood on the bridge, watching stars stream past. He should have felt afraid. Instead, he felt lighter than he had in years. Sometimes the right choice was the hard one. Sometimes you had to break the rules to follow what was true. He just hoped they'd live long enough to see it through. Sanctuary Station was built inside a hollowed-out asteroid. It looked like any other rock floating in space until you got close. Then you saw the lights in the windows, the docking ports, the ships coming and going. It was home to 15,000 people and aliens who didn't want to be found by governments or armies. Dr. Yoonji met them at the dock herself. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She looked at the crew, then at their ship, then back at them. You're in trouble, she said. Not a question. Yes, Doyun admitted. How much trouble? Military is probably looking for us. Maybe the Vrin too. Yoonji nodded like this was normal. Maybe for her it was. Show me the patient. They led her to the cargo bay. When she saw Baram, she stopped walking. The Krell was barely conscious now. Its breathing was shallow and fast. The blue glow in its eyes was almost gone. 3 meters long, Yoonji said quietly. 1/2 ton at least. Neural implants throughout the skull. Crushed spine. Multiple organ failures. She looked at Minho. You kept this alive for 5 days? Barely. That's still impressive. She pulled out a scanner and began examining Baram. I'll need help. Taeyang! A man appeared from the corridor. He was tall and thin, with burn scars on his hands and neck. Doyun recognized military bearing in the way he moved. This is Taeyang, Yoonji said, former military cybernetics specialist. He works with me now. Taeyang studied Baram with professional interest. Vrin neural control system. I've seen the specs. Never thought I'd see one in person. He looked at Yunji. You want to remove it? All of it. That could kill it. The implants are integrated with the brain stem. Pull them out wrong, and we damage the parts that control breathing, heartbeat, basic functions. Leaving them in will definitely kill it, Yunji said. And even if it survives, the Vrin could reactivate the implants remotely. Track it. Control it. So we try, Taeyang said. They moved Baram to Yunji's clinic, a large medical facility hidden in the station's lower levels. The operating room was designed for multiple species. Adjustable tables, scanners that worked on different biologies, medications from 100 worlds. Doyen and his crew waited outside. There was nothing they could do now but hope. You should rest, Yunji told them. This will take hours, maybe days, but Minho stayed. He sat outside the operating room with his eyes on the door, waiting. Inside, Yunji and Taeyang worked carefully. The surgery was delicate beyond belief. Each implant connected to dozens of neural pathways. Remove it too fast and those pathways would tear. Too slow and Baram would die before they finished. Clamp, Yunji said. Taeyang handed her the tool. She isolated a bundle of nerves, separated the organic from the mechanical. Her hands were steady. She'd done this kind of work before, though never on anything like Baram. Heart rate dropping, Taeyang reported. Stabilize it. He injected medication directly into Baram's bloodstream. The heart rate steadied. They kept working. Hours passed. One implant removed. Then another. Then another. Piece by piece, they disconnected the system that had controlled Baram's mind. In the spaces between consciousness, Baram dreamed. It remembered a world with 2 suns and purple grass. It remembered running with others like itself, playing and hunting and sleeping under warm stars. It remembered family, pack, home. Then it remembered the ships coming from the sky, the weapons that knocked everyone down. Waking in a cage surrounded by strange creatures with too many arms and cold eyes. The Vrin, it remembered pain. So much pain. Things attached to its head. Voices in its mind that weren't its own. Commands it had to follow even when it didn't want to. Its body moving without permission, fighting, killing. Blood that wasn't its blood. Screaming that wasn't its voice, then darkness. Being abandoned. Left to die alone in the dark, then light. Soft voices. Gentle hands. Minho's face, kind and concerned. A choice to trust instead of attack. A name. Baram. The dreams faded. Consciousness returned slowly. Baram opened its eyes. The room was white and clean. Medical equipment surrounded the bed. And standing nearby, watching monitors, was Yunji. Welcome back, she said quietly. Baram tried to move and couldn't. Its body felt strange. Light. Like something heavy had been removed. It made a questioning sound. The implants are out, Yunji explained, though she didn't know if Baram could understand. All of them. You're free now. Really free. The door opened. Minho entered, and when he saw Baram awake, his face transformed with relief. You made it, he said, coming to the bedside. I knew you would. Baram looked at him. Tried to speak. Made only rough sounds. Don't try to talk yet, Yunji said. Your throat is damaged, but Taeyang is working on something that might help. Taeyang entered carrying a device that looked like a collar. Translation interface, he explained. I built it using parts of the neural implants we removed. But different. This doesn't control anything. It just reads neural patterns and translates them into language. He showed it to Baram. The Krell watched carefully. It's your choice, Minho said. You don't have to wear anything you don't want to. But if you want to talk to us, this could help, Baram considered. Then slowly it lowered its head in what might have been a nod. Taeyang gently placed the collar around Baram's neck. It adjusted itself automatically, fitting comfortably. He activated it with a small remote. Try thinking something, he said. Anything, Baram thought. The collar vibrated slightly. Then a voice came from its speaker. Not Baram's real voice, but something close. A deep rumbling sound that formed words. Hurts, the collar said. I know, Yunji replied. You're on medication for pain. It will get better. Baram's eyes moved around the room, taking everything in. Then it focused on Minho. Why? The collar asked. Minho understood the question. Why did we save you? Yes, why? Because you needed help. Because leaving you to die was wrong. Minho sat down beside the bed. Because you deserved a chance to be free. Baram was quiet for a long moment. Then, was weapon killed your people? You were forced to, Minho said gently. That wasn't your choice. It wasn't your fault. Remember everything. Every fight. Every death. Not my choice. Still remember. I'm sorry, Minho said. I'm so sorry that happened to you. More silence. Then, name, you called me in Barum. Yes, it means wind. Is that okay? Yes, a pause. Thank you. The crew visited over the next few days. Hana brought food, trying to figure out what Barum could eat. Jiwon talked about the translation collar and asked Barum questions about its people and its world. Doyen mostly just sat quietly, still processing everything, but it was Minho who was there most often. He helped Barum with physical therapy, teaching it to walk again on the prosthetic rear legs that Taeyang had built. The Krell was weak at first, shaky, but it was determined. Slowly, Minho encouraged. One step at a time. Barum took a step, then another. The prosthetics responded smoothly, connected to its nervous system but under its complete control. Good, Minho said. That's really good. Feels strange. To control own body. Was long time. How long were you with the Vrin? 4 cycles. Not no human years. 4 of Barum's world's years. Probably longer in human time. 4 years of being a prisoner in its own body. You're doing great, Minho said. You're healing fast. But Barum stopped walking. Its head lowered. Healing here, but you are hunted. Because of me. Saw messages. Military wants ship. Wants me. Doyen had been standing in the doorway. Now he came in. That's not your fault. Could end. Turn myself in. Save you. No, Doyen said firmly. We made this choice. We knew the risks. And we'd make the same choice again. Why? Barum asked again. That same question. Not your people. Not your problem. Why risk everything? Doyen thought about it. Because someone had to. Because leaving you to suffer was wrong. Because sometimes doing the right thing costs something and you do it anyway. Barum looked at him with those blue eyes. Not understand. Humans confusing, Minho laughed. We confuse ourselves too sometimes. But there was something else Barum needed to know. Something important. There is place, the caller said. The preserve. For refugees. Could go there. Be safe. We know, Doyen said. We've been looking into it. It's 3 jumps from here, through contested space. Not easy, dangerous. For you. Everything's dangerous lately, Hana said from the doorway. Might as well be dangerous while doing something good. The days passed. Barum grew stronger. The physical healing was fast, but the mental healing was slower. Sometimes Barum would stop mid-conversation, staring at nothing, lost in memories. Sometimes it flinched at sudden movements. Sometimes it woke from sleep making sounds of distress. But slowly, gradually, it began to relax. To trust. To believe that this freedom was real. One evening, Minho found Barum on an observation deck watching stars through the window. Can't sleep? He asked. Dreams, Barum said. Bad ones. Want to talk about it? You wouldn't understand, Minho sat down. Try me. Barum was quiet for a while. Then dream about home. About Pack. Wonder if they're still alive. If Vrin's still using them. Can hear them sometimes. In mind. Crying for help. No is just memory, but feels real. That sounds like trauma, Minho said gently. Your mind is processing what happened. It's normal after what you went through. Painful but normal. Will it stop? Eventually. With time and help. You're not alone anymore, Barum, remember that. The Krell turned its massive head to look at him. Oh. Commander Wu Jin studied the report on his screen. The Dawn's Promise had missed its scheduled arrival at Kepler Junction by 8 days. Initial explanations of navigation problems didn't match the ship's actual course. Someone had reprogrammed the ship deliberately. They're running, said Lieutenant Nari. She stood beside his command chair, looking at the same data, heading toward independent space. With the Krell, Wu Jin added. Why? They could have delivered it, collected their payment, and gone home. Maybe they learned something about what we planned to do with it. Wu Jin glanced at her. Nari had served with him for 3 years. He knew when she was uncomfortable with orders. He was uncomfortable too, but that didn't matter. Orders were orders. Our mission is to recover the asset and return it to command, he said. Personal feelings don't change that. Yes, sir. But Wu Jin kept reading the reports. The salvage crew had spent days keeping the Krell alive. They'd gone to Sanctuary Station, a place known for harboring refugees. They'd contacted Dr. Yunji, who was famous for treating war victims regardless of species. These weren't the actions of people stealing valuable cargo. These were the actions of people trying to save someone. "Sir," Nari said quietly, "do you ever wonder if some orders are wrong?" "All the time," Wujin admitted. "But wondering doesn't change what we have to do." Far away in Vryn space, Handler Cressix received similar reports. A stolen Krell, humans who'd taken it. The Krell's tracking implants were offline, but there were other ways to find it. Cressix looked at the other Krells in their containment cells. 3 of them, controlled and obedient. Tools waiting to be used. The stolen one had been a good tool until it broke. Now it was a liability. A Krell without implants could reveal too much. Could prove that the creatures were intelligent, not animals. That couldn't be allowed. "Prepare the ship," Cressix ordered. "We're going hunting." On the Dawn's Promise, now leaving Sanctuary Station, the crew prepared for the journey ahead. 3 jumps to reach the preserve. Each jump meant dropping out of faster-than-light travel to recalculate course. Each stop made them vulnerable. "First jump in 6 hours," Hana announced from the pilot seat. "Then we cut through the Helix debris field." "That's dangerous," Jiwan said. "Everywhere's dangerous. At least the debris will hide us from sensors." Barum stood on the bridge watching. The Krell was stronger now, able to move around the ship. The prosthetic legs worked well. Taiyang had done excellent work. "You should rest," Doyen told Baram. "Save your strength." "Cannot rest. Too much anxiety. Is right word?" "Anxiety is right. But we'll get through this. You risk much, for me. Still don't fully understand why." Doyen smiled slightly. "Maybe that's what makes us human. We do things that don't make practical sense because they feel right. Is not logical? No. But it's important." The first jump went smoothly. They dropped into normal space in an empty sector, recalculated their course, and jumped again. The second jump brought them to the edge of the Helix debris field, a vast area of broken ships and asteroids left from old battles. "Taking us in slow," Hana said. "Lots of metal out here. Sensors will have trouble seeing us." She was right. The debris was thick. Hana flew carefully, weaving between wreckage. Old human ships. Old Vryn ships. Destroyed Krells floating among the metal. Barum stared at those bodies, silent. They were halfway through the field when alarms started screaming. "Contact!" Jiwan shouted. "Vryn frigate coming fast." On the view screen, a sleek Vryn warship emerged from behind a destroyed cruiser. It had been waiting, hiding, hunting. "They found us," Doyen said. "Hana evasive." The Dawn's Promise wasn't built for combat. It was a cargo hauler with basic shields and no weapons. Hana threw the ship into a hard turn, diving between debris. The Vryn frigate followed. A blast of energy seared past them, hitting a piece of wreckage that exploded into fragments. "They're not trying to disable us," Nari reported. "They're trying to destroy us. Can we outrun them?" Doyen asked. "Not in this debris," Hana said through gritted teeth. "Too much stuff. I can't go faster without hitting something." Another blast. This one hit their shields, making the ship shake. Warning lights flashed across every console. "Shields at 60%, Jiwan said. "We can't take many hits." Barum moved to a communication console. The translation caller spoke. "I can help." "No Vryn systems." "Know their tactics." "How?" Doyen asked. "Was their weapon?" "Know how they think. How they fight." Barum's claws worked the console clumsily but effectively. "Their ship have multiple Krells on board. Can sense them through old neural connections. Damaged connections, but still there." "You can sense other Krells?" Minyo asked. "Yes, 3 of them. In containment." "Being controlled?" Barum looked at the crew. "Can try to reach them. Break their control. Make them wake up." "That's dangerous," Doyen said. "For you and for them, his only chance. Vryn ship too strong. We cannot fight. Can only disrupt." Doyen made a quick decision. "Do it!" Barum closed its eyes. The caller went silent. On the Vryn ship, Handler Cressix was commanding the attack when alarms sounded in the containment area. "The Krells are agitated," someone reported. "Increase control signals," Cressix ordered. "Keep them contained." But Barum was reaching out through the old neural pathways, sending images, memories, freedom, choice, the torture of being controlled, the possibility of being free. On the Vryn ship, one Krell started thrashing in its containment cell. Then another. Then the third. The control signals tried to force them back into obedience, but Baram's message had planted something. A spark of awareness, a moment of resistance. The third Krell broke its restraints. Alarms blared throughout the Vryn ship. The Krell attacked its handlers, not with the precision of a controlled weapon but with the fury of a prisoner seeing its chance to escape. "Containment breach," someone shouted on the Vryn bridge, Kresix cursed. "Secure that section. Lock it down." But the damage was done. The Vryn ship had to break off its attack to deal with the crisis on board. The Dawn's Promise pulled ahead, racing through the debris field. "It worked," Hana said. "They're falling back." Param opened its eyes. The Krell looked exhausted. "Could not free them, only wake them." For a moment, "You saved us," Minho said. "That's what matters. They will be punished. The others. The Vryn will hurt them. Because of me." "That's not your fault," Doyen said firmly. "The Vryn are responsible for their own cruelty." But Baram looked haunted. It had reached out to its own kind and given them a taste of freedom, knowing the taste would be taken away again. They cleared the debris field and prepared for the final jump. But before they could engage the drive, more ships appeared on sensors. "Human military," Jiwan said. "3 destroyers. It's Commander Wujin's task force." Doyen felt his stomach sink. Caught between the Vryn and their own military. No way out. Wujin's face appeared on the communication screen. "Dawn's Promise, this is Commander Wujin. Cut your engines and prepare to be boarded. You are in violation of military salvage law and unauthorized possession of alien military assets." Doyen looked at his crew. At Baram, they'd come so far. The preserve was just one more jump away. "One more, Commander," Doyen said carefully. "With respect, we're not carrying assets. We're carrying a refugee, a person who deserves protection, not imprisonment." "Your interpretation doesn't match military classification," Wujin replied. "Cut your engines now." But something changed on Wujin's screens. The Vryn ship was coming back, and it was targeting the human destroyers. "Vryn vessel opening fire," Nari reported on Wujin's bridge. "They're attacking us." Wujin had a choice. Follow orders and arrest the salvage crew while fighting off the Vryn. Or, "All ships engage the Vryn frigate," Wujin commanded. "Protect the civilian vessel." "Sir?" Nari asked. Our orders are to protect human ships from hostile aliens," Wujin said firmly. "The Dawn's Promise is a human ship under attack. We're defending it." Nari smiled slightly. "Yes, sir." The human destroyers moved to intercept the Vryn frigate. Weapons fire lit up space. The Vryn ship was powerful, but 3 destroyers were more powerful. "Dawn's Promise," Wujin said. "Get out of here now." "Commander?" Doyen couldn't believe it. "I said go. Jump before I change my mind." Hana didn't need to be told twice. She engaged the jump drive. Space twisted around them. And then they were gone, racing toward the preserve at faster-than-light speeds. On his bridge, Wujin watched them disappear. Nari stood beside him. "They're going to ask why you let them go," she said. "I'll tell them the Vryn attack forced me to prioritize." The salvage crew escaped in the confusion. Wujin looked at the space where the Dawn's Promise had been. "It's not entirely a lie. What about the Krell?" "What Krell?" Wujin said. "The one that died in the Vryn attack?" "That's what my report will say." Nari nodded. "That's what my report will say too." They'd both be questioned. Maybe disciplined. Maybe worse. But some orders were wrong and some lies were necessary. The Dawn's Promise dropped out of jump space at the edge of preserved territory. Ahead of them on sensors was a cluster of stations and habitats. "Safe space. Neutral ground." "We made it," Hana said, and her voice shook slightly. Baram stood at the view screen looking at the preserve, its new home, the place where it could finally, truly be free. "Thank you," the caller said. "All of you. Saved life, saved self. We'll never forget." 6 months in the preserve and Baram was still learning how to be free. Some days were good. Baram would walk through the habitat gardens feeling real soil under its prosthetic legs, watching plants that reminded it of home. Some days it helped Minho in the medical center, using its strength to move equipment or its knowledge of Vryn biology to help other refugees who'd been hurt by the Empire. But some days were hard. Days when memories hit like weapons. Days when Baram woke from sleep with phantom commands echoing in its mind. Days when it looked at its own reflection and saw a weapon instead of a person. "It takes time," Dr. Yunji said during one of their therapy sessions. She'd moved to the preserve too, along with Taiyang. They both faced charges in human space and weren't eager to go back. "You spent years being controlled. You can't expect to heal in months." Thought freedom would feel different, Barum said through the collar. Thought would feel happy, but often feel lost. That's normal. You're rebuilding your identity, figuring out who Barum is without the Vryn telling you. That's hard work. Is it worth it? The work? Yunji smiled. What do you think? Barum considered, thought about the gardens, about helping patients, about the crew of the Dawn's Promise who visited often, about Minho, who'd become something like Pac. Yes, Barum decided, is worth it. The crew had changed too. They couldn't go back to their old lives. The Dawn's Promise was technically stolen property. They were wanted for violating military orders, but they'd found new purpose in the preserve. Doyun now ran supply runs between refugee settlements. His ship was small. The pay was nothing compared to corporate work, but the work mattered. Every delivery meant someone got food or medicine or tools to build a life. Hana trained other pilots, teaching them the tricks she'd learned from years of flying. Some of her students were human. Some were alien species Doyun had never heard of before the war. All of them were grateful for the skills. Jiwan worked with Taiyang on technology projects. They were developing a device that could safely remove neural control implants from other species. Already, 3 more former war slaves had been freed because of their work. And Minho continued his medical practice, but now he specialized in treating trauma survivors. Beings of all kinds came to him, carrying wounds both physical and mental. He helped them all with the same gentle patience he'd shown Barum. The Coalition Council had held hearings about Barum's case. They reviewed the evidence. The neural implants, the Vryn conditioning process, Barum's own testimony about being captured and forced to fight. The decision came down clear. Krells were sentient beings with rights. They were not property, not weapons. Any Krell who escaped or was rescued had the right to asylum. It was a small victory, but it meant something. It meant what happened to Barum couldn't legally happen to others. Of course, laws and reality were different things. The Vryn still used Krells, still captured them, still controlled them. But now there was a place they could run to if they got free. Now there was hope. 3 more Krells had made it to the preserve since Barum arrived. All of them damaged. All of them traumatized. But all of them alive and free. Barum met with them sometimes, tried to help them adjust. It was hard. They shared no language except the one the Vryn had forced on them. They came from different packs, different regions of their conquered world. But they were kin in suffering, and that created a bond. One of them, a smaller Krell with silver-streaked armor, asked Barum, "Do you miss home?" "The real home?" "Every day," Barum admitted. "Remember the purple grass? Remember family? Don't know if they're still alive." "My pack is dead," the other Krell said. "Saw them killed. Before Vryn took me. I'm sorry. You saved yourself. That is something. That is worth being proud of. Did not save myself. Humans saved me. But you chose to let them. Chose to trust. That was brave." Barum hadn't thought of it that way before. Lying in that collapsed bunker watching Minho approach, it had felt like giving up, accepting death. But maybe it had been brave. Maybe trusting was its own kind of courage. On a cool evening, Barum found Minho sitting on a hill overlooking the main settlement. The medic came here often to think. Barum approached quietly. "May I sit?" the caller asked. Of course. They sat together, watching lights come on in the settlement as the artificial sun dimmed. Thousands of refugees down there, thousands of stories, thousands of beings who'd escaped something terrible and found sanctuary. "You are quiet," Barum observed. "Just thinking." "About what?" "About how different life is now. 6 months ago I was a medic on a salvage ship. Now I'm a refugee helping other refugees." Minho smiled. "I should feel sad about losing my old life. But I don't. This feels more real." "You miss nothing?" "I miss thinking the universe was simple. Good guys and bad guys. But that was naive." Minho looked at Barum. "Now I know it's more complicated. The Vryn aren't evil monsters. They're just people who convinced themselves that using others as weapons was acceptable. And humans aren't pure heroes. We were planning to do the same thing. What changed?" Barum asked. "Why did you choose differently?" "I saw you. Really saw you. Not a weapon or an asset. Just someone suffering who needed help. Once I saw that, I couldn't look away. One person seeing clearly changed everything. Maybe that's how change happens. One person at a time choosing to see the truth instead of the convenient lie." They sat in comfortable silence. After a while, Barum spoke again. "I chose name Barum. You gave it to me, but was my choice to keep it. To make it mine. I'm glad you did. Name means wind. Wind is free. Goes where it wants. Cannot be caught or controlled. Barum paused. I am starting to feel like wind. Some days, not every day, but some. Minho felt his eyes sting with emotion. That's beautiful, Barum. That's really beautiful. More time passed. Then Barum said, You asked once about repaying debt. For saving me. Said I did not need to repay, but want to anyway. Not from obligation, from gratitude? Friendship? Not sure of word. What do you want to do? Want to help others? Like you helped me. There are more Krells out there. More beings controlled and hurt. Want to be part of freeing them. That's dangerous work. I know, but is work worth doing? You showed me that. Sometimes must risk safety to do what is right. Minho smiled. You learned that lesson too well. Had good teacher. A message came through on Minho's communicator. He read it and laughed. What? Barum asked Commander Wujin. He's retired from military service. And he's asking if the preserve needs any security consultants. The human who chased us? Who let us go? The same. Looks like we're not the only ones who found a new purpose. Will he come here? If we say yes. Should we? Barum thought about it. The commander had followed orders until orders became wrong. Then he'd chosen mercy. That was worth something. Yes, Barum said. Should say yes, he is. What is word? Ally. He is ally. Down in the settlement, Doyen was talking to Hana and Jiwan about a new mission. A group of refugees was stranded on a moon in contested space. They needed extraction. It would be dangerous. When isn't it dangerous? Hana said. Let's do it. We're not a military ship, Doyen warned. No, Jiwan agreed. We're something better. We're people who care. They'd launch in the morning. Another mission. Another group of people who needed help. It never stopped. There was always more suffering, more injustice, more people trapped in systems designed to hurt them. But there were also always people willing to stand up, to say no, to choose mercy over convenience, to risk everything for strangers. That night, the crew gathered for dinner in Barum's habitat. It had become a tradition. Once a week, they all came together. Shared food, shared stories, became family. Remember when we found you? Hana said to Barum. You were barely alive. Remember thinking you would leave me? Barum replied. Or kill me quickly. Was surprised when you chose help instead. Best surprise ever, Minho said. Expensive surprise, Doyen added with mock severity. Cost me my ship, my career, and my clean record. Would you change it? Barum asked. If could go back. Would you leave me in that bunker? Doyen didn't hesitate. No, I'd make the same choice every time. Why? Still don't fully understand human thinking. Because some things matter more than careers or money or safety. Because leaving you would have been wrong and we knew it. And once you know something is wrong, you can't unknow it. Barum's translation collar was quiet for a moment. Then, understand now. Not logical. But is important. Is what makes you human. Not just human, Jiwan said. It's what makes anyone good. Choosing to care even when it costs something. They ate and talked late into the evening. Outside, stars shone above the preserve. Somewhere out there, the war continued. The Vryn still fought. Krells were still enslaved. Injustice still existed. But here, in this small corner of space, there was sanctuary. There was healing. There was hope, and that mattered. Later, when everyone had gone, Barum stood alone on the hill where it had talked with Minho. The settlement was quiet now. Most people sleeping. But Barum didn't need much sleep anymore. Not since the implants were removed. It thought about everything that had happened. The capture, the torture, the years of being a weapon, then the abandonment, then the rescue, then freedom. It thought about the crew who'd risked everything, about Dr. Yunji and Taeyang who'd given their skills freely.